Previously on Weather the Storm.
Hey Sabrina, Damon, if you guys want my screen, we're tracking a tornado near Andover. I'm Derek Klein, CEO of HailTrace. Founded HailTrace back in 2010.
I'm Allie Burt. I'm the executive assistant at HailTrace. I also do all the photo and video stuff.
My name is Jennifer Ellis, and I am the customer success team lead. So my team does the direct interactions with our clients. We support our end users with the functions and the features within our applications. So customer success is our focus.
What happened next in the story of the Andover tornado?
So after the Andover tornado lifted, we chased it until it was pretty much done. We decided to go back and try to survey some damage. At that point, it was dark. So we are, trying to find our way into neighborhoods. A lot of, police were already there and they're on the scene and they've got a lot of roads blocked off. We did manage to find our way into a neighborhood, and the light bars on the truck, we used those because it was, obviously a tornado just come through. There's no power or anything. We lit that up so that way we could see some of the damage. And yeah, it was just, you could see people just kind of like walking around, almost just like, I don't know what just happened. It's dark. I don't know what my home looks like.
Is it common for your team to return to areas after they have been damaged by storms?
A lot of times it depends on the severity of the storm, whether or not we actually end up going back to the storm to look at the damage that has occurred. So we look at it from a couple of different aspects. So one of the things that's really important for us is to document the storm and also to give warning to the storm. And so if we stop chasing the storm, we actually lose that ability to let people know where it is and who it's impacting or who it's about to impact. And so most of the time our goal is to stay up with the storm and not go back. And we really don't want to be in the way. We're not medical first responders, so for us to be back, we could potentially be in the way. There have been cases though where we do have the ability to help, whether it's to pull stuff with our truck off the roads, like it could be a tree, or we have the ability to light up an area that maybe nobody can see anything because it's super dark without electricity. So there are cases where we can be helpful, but for the most part, we're more helpful in letting people know where the storm is at and when it might impact their area. It was late December or early December, and not typically a month that you expect to see a lot of big tornadoes. In fact, it's a month that we tend to think we're going to get to rest around here. But that wasn't the case. We had a day that the conditions had come together to produce violent tornadoes, and you never know if that's going to happen or not, but it looked likely on this particular day. And so we had our entire meteorology office staffed up, ready to go. We knew it was going to be some long hours. We're going to be involved with preparing for this potential tornado outbreak that would include hail and high winds and all kinds of different weather perils that would be severe to the people that they impacted. I still remember it was evening time. We had been tracking a tornado that had been on the ground for a significant amount of time, so 30, 40, 50 miles. And at times it looked like it was probably producing a tornado that was a mile wide and just extremely violent. It's hard to put into words what it feels like when you're a meteorologist and you're tracking on radar this storm that you know is a violent storm that is going to take people's lives. And that's one of the parts of the job that we do, and we have to take it extremely serious because what we do is a direct response to how quickly first responders can respond. And so we have to, even though we're watching a tornado and we see a town on the map right in front of it, and it looks like it's going to impact this town, and you're watching it frame by frame, and you're just saying, is it gonna lift? Will it lift? I hope it'll lift. And then it's 3 minutes out of town, and you also start to put some things in your head where you say, oh, this is a part of the country that doesn't get big tornadoes. This is Kentucky. They don't get big tornadoes in Kentucky. Are they prepared? Do they know that there's a big tornado coming? it's Christmas time. Are people thinking about Christmas, not tornadoes right now? All of these things are going through our head, and we see this town of Mayfield, Kentucky, and it's right in front, and all of a sudden this tornado is now knocking on the door of Mayfield, Kentucky. It's about to make impact. And the next radar frame comes in, and it's right on the outside of town, and all of a sudden we see the radar frame drop. The color increases drastically, and we know exactly what that means. That means it just hit a neighborhood. And we're not seeing rain, we're seeing people's homes being lofted in the air, and the radar is not seeing heavy rain, but it's seeing people's lives being destroyed. And we don't know what kind of warning they had, but we know the next frame on radar is going to be even worse, because now it's in town. And the next one after that is going to be in town. And the next one after that is going to be in town. And then when it finally moves out of town, there's another town right down the road. And this tornado that we tracked for hours and hours and hours wasn't the only one that day. There were dozens of tornadoes that were impactful and killed many people. Many people lost their life on this day. It was one of the most tragic tornado outbreaks in the month of December that the United States had ever incurred. As the day wraps up and finally the tornadoes lift, and this is 2, 3 in the morning. I mean, this is an all night long event. The next morning we were like, we have to do something. We're from Oklahoma, and we're used to these type of events. To some extent, we're proud of the way that we respond in Oklahoma to tornadoes. And so we knew that we could bring something to the table that would be able to help people in Kentucky. So we're, kind of going back and forth, and Jennifer in our office had said, we should do some sort of drive. We should do something to help these victims out. And I remember saying into the chat, into our company chat, you know what this means, right? If we commit, if I say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to raise money, we're going to collect goods for people in Kentucky, that Oklahomans will respond to that. And we're going to have to be willing to do the work that it's going to take to respond to that. But we still have a job to do here in the office, and so we're going to have to do that after hours. This isn't a we get to take the next 2 weeks off work while we collect all these things and help these victims. In order for us to survive as humans, we still have a job to do as well. And so, I send it out there, and not to my surprise at all, I expected that our office would say, we're all in. Let's go. We'll work till 10 p.m. every night if that's what it takes to make this happen for these victims. And that's exactly what we did. We put up tables all over. Our office turned into, it looked like a store basically. We had shelves with everything from diapers to bottles to toothpaste to toiletries to coats to clothes to shoes to, you name it, we had it, and it was all over our office. And people would bring in boxes, and at times we even had truckloads full of stuff that would come in. I remember we had somebody bring a whole pallet of water. He went to Sam's and said, I'll just take the whole pallet. Bought the whole pallet, brought it in, and we had to unload all this water. We would have donations that would be given in. People would say, we're going to match whatever you get today. So if we got $5,000, they would match $5,000. And, we spent the next week and a half collecting, sorting, cleaning, making sure that everything was in a position that when we got there, the victims didn't have to do anything. I think it's easy to take a bag full of clothes out of your closet and say, all right, I want to donate these. But it's a whole nother level to take those clothes, make sure they're clean, folded, sorted by size, sorted by gender, sorted by who's going to need this, and then box it up in those fashions, and then bring it out and say, all right, this is for a 7-year-old boy. This is for a 12-year-old girl. These are coats for people. Remember, this tornado happened in December. we're not used to responding to tornadoes with coats, but they needed coats. It was, in fact, I think it snowed shortly after this tornado occurred. So unfortunately, we have experience in dealing with those. And so our ability to respond was just a little bit different. And so we were excited to take that opportunity and run with it.
So our teams are on call. So the event happened on a weekend, and I felt like with the type of business that we're in, my heart just pulled towards we need to do something as a company. This is a perfect opportunity to give back, and especially knowing what we've experienced here in Oklahoma, that impact that Kentucky had was significant. So I came up with the idea, shot it to the group, and we ran with it. So then Derek went to his social media and started basically developing a GoFundMe and started talking about how we were going to take donations to take to Kentucky. And other people within the company started sharing, and it just grew from there. And it grew to a point where we realized, oh, we're getting a lot more response than we actually anticipated. So then Allie and I went into planning mode. So we really had to start getting organized, and we had to come up with a schedule for volunteers in order just to go through the donations and manage how we were storing them, how we were grouping them, packing them. And it was amazing to see all of the outpour within our own community. I mean, we had pallets and pallets of water show up. People were bringing clothing. It was just unbelievable.
So as far as people wanting to respond and how we were able to respond, our goal was really to be kind of a hub. We knew a lot of people wanted to help, but a lot of people didn't know how to help. You know, where can I send it? I want to make sure that when I donate this money, it's not going to go to, you know, a corporation that's going to be dealing with the infrastructure and the overhead of running this corporation. I want this money to go to Tom and Sally Smith that just had their home lost. And so that was kind of our goal, was how can we get the money directly to them? And so we wanted to really involve our community and who we knew. So we had contractors from all over the country. We had Indy Roofing, I want to say donated $15,000. I know Atlas had donated money through our GoFundMe. We had contractors here locally that would bring in checks that would go directly to the funds. Contractors would bring, again, pallets of water. We had all kinds of supplies that they would bring. And even on the backside, because we had trailers full of stuff that had to get from Oklahoma to Kentucky. And so we had contractors that stepped up and said, yeah, we want to help. I've got a truck and I've got a trailer. When are you guys going? And they show up on a Saturday morning when it's 10 degrees outside, and we loaded trailers for hours. And then we made a 13-hour drive pulling trailers with truck. That's a lot of gas money. And nobody asked for help on gas. Nobody asked for help on food. Nobody asked for help with their hotels. It was, we're all in, we want to help. We don't want to be a part of the problem. We don't want to take away from the help that you've done. We're going to do whatever it takes to help. And so it was really cool to see that, you know, in some ways I would say, you know, maybe we didn't even do as much work as some of the other people, because we just said, we're the hub. Just bring all your stuff right here and we'll figure out how to get it there. We want to get what you want to, how you want to help. We want to make it easy for you to do that.
Another thing that you did that I remember was you would almost have like a specific goal for each day, because you were talking to people that we were going to be taking the supplies to and asking, what do you need? And I remember one of the days was coats, right? It's like, if you want to buy new coats, if you have a child's coat that's in good condition, bring it. And that, I think, really helped the effort too, because that's so much easier for people to wrap their heads around of like, yeah, I can go buy a coat or water. One of the days was water, and that's whenever we had just pallets and like rooms full of water, because we were specifically asking for, we need this today. Can you step up and give us money for this, or can you bring it if you have it? So the logistical side of things, it really came into play pretty early on, whenever we the amount of things showing up at our office really, like our hallways were full. We had offices full of clothing. I mean, it was everywhere. Every space in our office that could hold, items was holding items. And so at that point, we really, Jennifer and I, it's like, okay, we've got to go through everything. We first started with our staff. Every person on our staff did shift work in the evenings. So, some of our staff, some of them have to be at work at 8 a.m. and it's like, okay, you get off at 4. All right, I'll take the 4 to 5 shift, or hey, I'll be here from like 6 to 8, or, even past that. I think we had evenings where we were at the office until 10 p.m. sorting things and going through things, and we never had any of our staff complain. And then we had people outside of our staff coming and, wanting to help, and family members or other people in the community that, just heard about it and wanted to help. We had so many people, so the organization side was a big undertaking, but between Jennifer and I.
We start looking at all the data, how much, what kind of contribution are we going to have? And we raised over $45,000, and we were able to accept donations that we think was probably close to another $40,000 to $45,000 in addition to the actual cash and money donations, the monetary donations that we received. It was breathtaking, to say the least, to see the community. And when I say community, I'm talking about the people around us here in Oklahoma, but also the restoration community, the contractor community, the way that they responded to wanting to help. And this wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last time that I've seen these communities respond. And there are so many different ways and avenues for them to respond. But that idea doesn't count, the hotels that we stayed in, the expense of those. Those were just people paying out of their pocket. The gas, the food, the trailers, if you start thinking about trailers, you drive that far, you've got tires, tire wear on trailers. It's a long way to drive with a trailer, especially with the weight that we had on those trailers. They were extremely heavy. We had to drive fairly slow because they were crammed all the way to literally like put a box in and then push the door closed and before everything fell out. Like, the trailers were that full of stuff, and you don't think about how much pallets and pallets of water weigh, but we would have to stop and readjust the weight on the trailers to make sure that they were weighed right. Otherwise, you couldn't drive because there was so much weight on the tires. You had to get the weight adjusted on the axle and the hitch just right to allow the vehicle to drive straight without swerving around off the road and swaying everywhere. That's how much stuff that we collected or that we went and purchased. And part of the cash side of it too, which you realize this from working other natural disasters, is we can't show up with $45,000 in cash. And the reason being is not because they, do they need money? Yes, they need money, but they need a place to spend the money. And a lot of those communities, you couldn't go to Walmart and buy stuff because either the Walmart was destroyed, or if the Walmart wasn't destroyed, everybody had purchased everything that was needed from that Walmart. So, with all of the things that were purchased, there wasn't a place to go buy it. So, thankfully we had the foresight to say, well, let's go buy stuff from here. Let's get everything from this location, from Edmond. We can buy Edmond out. Edmond's going to have supplies coming back in again, and so we were able to do that as well. It is just amazing to see people come together, and especially in a time where sometimes we see a lot of division in our country. It lets us know that, there are a lot of really, really good people out there. And at the end of the day, we all want to come together and help each other out. And it's nice to know that those people are there and that they're with us.
And I will say, I just want to add another thing too. The trust that people put into us, I don't think that we took that lightly. Them giving us their donations and their money. I mean, it's, we're not, always dealing with large corporations giving donations, where it's families that just want to help, and we took that very seriously, and we tried very hard to be transparent about what we're doing, what we're buying, how much money we have. So we took that very seriously, that we were the vessel of just trying to help, but all of these other people were trying to help, but they're helping through us. We knew that, you know, people needed clothing, they needed food. Also, this was, you know, one of the toughest parts for me to wrap my head around. There were children, and this was, you know, a week or two before Christmas. All of their toys were gone. They weren't going to receive anything for Christmas. So, you know, we knew that we wanted to come with presents. We knew that we wanted to come with gifts. And so I went to talk to one of the managers at one of the local Walmarts here in Edmond, and he was amazing. Took me into his office. He was like, whatever you need, I'm gonna help you. It was me and Jennifer, and I think they gave us 6 or 7 of their staff, you know, for hours at a time, and just said, whatever you need. You know, they were following us around with carts. You know, Jennifer and I were trying to figure out, you know, okay, well this, you know, if we get this type of sock, we'll be able to get more socks. If we get this type of, you know, toy, we'll be able to get more toys. Just really, really trying to be, you know, aware of the money we had and trying to make that dollar stretch to get as much as we physically could. We cleaned them out of coats. Like, all of the children's coats were gone. I don't think we left any.
I mean, they just had racks of them. And I can't remember how many carts we had full of things, but they literally shut down the area where the gardening is. And that's where they're checking us out. We had one whole register. We probably 7 to 10 carts just full of things. Well, yeah, because they started taking them and putting them in the back. I mean, we did
Bins.
bottles, we did baby food, yes.
Things of blankets. I remember we had, you know, those big, you know, cardboard box pallet things in the middle. It was full of blankets. Like, we'll take one of those, put it, you know, pull it in the back. The outpouring from so many different people was amazing. Just specifically what I saw at that Walmart was just fantastic. Like, the staff, the management, like all the way down to like teenagers wanting to help us, you know, and they're just, you know, we're basically becoming their managers of like, okay, give me 50 of those. How many of this type of underwear do you have? I'm gonna take all of that, you know, like they were just like, all right, like we're running them out of things in their store. And I just kept apologizing. I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I'm sure that you guys are gonna get angry customers because it's so close to Christmas and you guys are running out of things. Like, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And then people are coming up to us, you know, in Walmart and saying, what are you guys doing? And, you know, maybe I can donate, you know, giving them the GoFundMe and everything. And I remember on our way to Kentucky, we had the trailers and there was people at the gas stations like, what are you guys doing? It's like, oh, give me your GoFundMe. I'll send you money right now. I got $500 I can send you right now. Like, it was just amazing, amazing.
I can remember being on the highway and people would actually recognize our truck and they would honk and wave, and they had been following us, and so they knew where we were headed. It was an amazing experience. So as we're driving, it's starting to really become more impactful for me as the organization and the packing and the loading, like all of that's done, and we're now making this journey to Kentucky, and you're able to reflect on like what the impact that you're about to have and what you're about to experience. And as we got closer, of course it was more in the evening time, but as we were driving, I can remember seeing some of the damage, and the closer we got, and I'll be honest, I've lived in Oklahoma my whole life, and I didn't even go down to more when we had our May tornado here. And so for me, this was the first experience I'd ever had of seeing the aftermath of a tornado like that. It was very impactful. And just to see people's homes destroyed like to nothing. And you saw people literally on the lots of their destructed home living in tents and trying to just live. It blew me away. And then we would walk through areas and you would see a child's teddy bear blown in a corner. Or you would see a section of a home, like it would be a closet and it's still standing, but the rest of the home was destroyed. And it's like, for me, it was like, okay, that was an area that somebody may have been taking shelter. So to think maybe somebody's life was saved just by that closet still standing, is like that God was protecting them. And I knew that it took a lot for us, but then when I started seeing all of the organization through all of the different places that we went when taking donations and how they were managing all of the outpour as well, I thought, oh, what we just went through was minor compared to these huge operations of storage of food and the clothing, but it was pretty impactful, especially at the time of year it happened, and to know that people would be spending their holiday, without their home.
So our contact for trying to find a way in and a place to offload our donations was actually Derek's brother-in-law. He is a pastor in Kentucky, I think in the Louisville area, but he obviously is connected there and was just like, yeah, I've got a place for you. And so we connected with HR Ministries. Brother Harold was kind of our main point of contact there.
I'm Brother Harold Riley, Director of HR Ministries, and just to be honest with you, this is not our normal role. And
the volunteerism that we witnessed there felt like small potatoes to what we did in our office, quite frankly. It was a grocery store that was closed, that they were allowed to use the space, so they were shelving and everything, and they're in their baby food, they're trying to get it organized so that way if you need something, you can walk in as if you're in a regular grocery store and say, okay, I need this, I need this, I need this. The magnitude of just donations, like we brought 4 truckloads worth of stuff, and it paled in comparison to like what we saw. I mean, I think that our donations were helpful, but it was a sight to see for sure. And the other thing too that Brother Harold talked to us a lot about was this tornado, is recognized in the news as the Mayfield, Kentucky tornado. It was very long track and went over several different counties. And so I remember very distinctly him saying, whenever something like this happens, you're able to call on your neighbor and your neighbor can come help you, meaning the neighboring counties. But there were so many counties impacted, they weren't able to go and help their neighboring county because they were just trying to help the people within their own county, within their own town. Obviously, we came from Oklahoma. There was people from, Tennessee and Missouri there, and Ohio. There was a group of women that I think were from Ohio that were sorting and everything. So it really was just like this full nation response. Like people from all over the country were, helping, and that was, really amazing to see.
How did you feel after HailTrace's contribution to the relief efforts?
Our culture within our company is so family-oriented. I didn't really feel any different. It was a vessel, though, of an opportunity for me to go and do this volunteer work because my company provided that opportunity. But I felt like a human. I didn't feel like I had to shield my emotions or do anything any particular way. I was able to be human, but the experience being given was amazing.
Yeah, the general, we really do have a family atmosphere within this office that's, really cool. I work with my husband. I consider Derek a great friend of both of ours. He's not just our boss, he's, our leader, he's also our friend. It really did feel very natural, the way that our whole team, came together and worked outside of the normal hours and everything. Like, it didn't feel unexpected. And of course you don't want to, expect your staff to always, give up all their free time, but in this situation, it was just like a no-brainer. They were just like, of course we're going to help. Of course, why wouldn't we? Like, let's get to work.
Next time we discuss the future of storm chasing and new innovations in technology on Weather the Storm.
Initially, when we started the business, we had this idea that contractors wanted to know what size of hail fell at any one location. We began to understand it wasn't necessarily the size of hail that they were interested in. They were relating the size of hail to the amount of damage that the storm did. But when we take our knowledge base on weather, we start to understand that it's not just the size of hail, it's the density of the hail, it's the volume of hail that impacts the roof, it's the age of the roof, it's the amount of ventilation, it's the type of shingle that they have. There are so many different variables that come in, and they were taking this one level of golf ball size hail and saying that equals damage. And we began to understand that that's not true.